Hey everyone, MTASH here, and I'm not doing a Destiny video for once. I don't know how many of you are following along with this Outriders game, but it's in development and it's coming out in holiday 2020. Now, I was flown out to play this a while ago, and back when I played it, there was actually only 3 classes in the game. There's like the Pyromancer, who's fire-based, there was the Devastator, who's kind of like a slam and jam earth guy, and then there was the Trickster, who used time and kind of like assassin abilities, and that was really cool. I was really hyped. I was really happy that there was such variety in the gameplay. But I actually got to play this again the other day, and they added another class. The Technomancer, I believe is what it's called. This one has gadgets, freezes, turrets, minigun, a rocket launcher, a bunch of things to poison the enemy or debuff the enemy or even buff your team. Now, I've never been the engineer type character in most games. I'm not like a big turret dude or someone that likes gadgets as much as just, hey, I'm running and gunning and slashing or casting spells and things like that. But this one actually had quite a bit of utility. It felt like I was really effective using the turrets, but also, if you want to just build to be like this nutty grenade guy, you could do that as well. Now, this game is interesting to me. It kind of feels like a remnant from Ashes, but maybe like a little bit more loot grind. And it's so tough to look at these games early on and be like, man, it's going to be good. Because there's so many variables. Is the story good, right? Is the end game good? Is the loot cool? I really don't know. And I can't answer those questions because I know there's going to be questions about it in the comment section. I know you guys want like, hey, should I buy this game? But it's so tough to tell right now. My thing is, it's hectic, and I liked how hectic it is. There are a lot of enemies that are going to sprint at you butt naked, and you got to use your abilities smart and run around and use cover, and I really did like the vibes that it gave off. So my interest in this game is very high. Is this something that I can cover on my channel? I don't know, because I don't know what that end game's gonna be. We all know, you know, when Anthem came out, it was like, oh, this game's gonna be sick, and then it kind of fell flat. And so I don't want to bait people just yet. But I've had 2 chances to play this game. I actually got to play with Cacus both times, and I think he's going to make a video. So maybe he can give you his opinion as well on his channel, Cacus HD, if you guys are wondering. But like, I'm kind of interested in where this game goes. As of right now, there's a lot of diversity with the different classes, right? And that means that there's going to be something for everyone. At least I would think so, because playing the Pyromancer versus the Trickster Assassin type character versus the Devastator versus this, it's a very different playstyle. And that opens up the doors to different builds and options, and just let me show you something really quick. There are multiple skills in the game, but your armor can actually buff those skills and give you like bonuses on the skills that you're using. So there's gonna be full-on builds. You know, you can either have a turret build or an explosive build, or depending on the class, you know, maybe a fire build, whatever it might be. But these armor pieces do have kind of build-defining perks available on them, which I think is a really cool thing. But take a look at this skill tree. All right, so before we get into the skill tree, one thing to note is each class has 8 abilities. And they're very different. Some heal you, some are, you know, CC and will freeze people or set them on fire. Some of them are just heavy damage and will nuke the enemy, right? And so you can mix and match them, but there's going to be some synergies within these. So I'm going to show you the skill tree and just give you kind of an example of this. There are going to be multiple different paths, right? And so some paths are going to be based on doing more damage with your weapons. Some of them are going to be like doing damage with freezing abilities versus turret abilities versus poison abilities, right? And so you can kind of mix and match, and you can actually move from like the middle tree to the top. Or from the top tree all the way to the bottom if you really wanted. And so there are some pretty cool choices you can make. You know, you can be kind of more team-oriented, or you can just be kind of like straight-up damage or CC. And so between the gear and the skills and the skill trees, you can have a very different class than someone else. You can have a lot of different value in these choices that you're making. So even if you're the fire guy, you might be very different than a different fire guy. And your one engineer might be completely focused on buffing your team and slowing everyone down and poisoning them, or they're just blowing everything up and being a DPS character. And so looking at this now, And now that I've had a chance to see some of the more end game gear, as well as some of these skill trees and the way they work out, I am very excited to test that stuff. I just hope that there's really cool stuff to use it on. Now, you might notice at the very top there's a world tier system, so as you level up and beat the content, you can up the world tier, you get better rewards. I think we've seen this in a lot of different games, but a lot of the enemies just get more health. Now, I don't know if there's going to be different enemy types and variations, if there's going to be different mechanics you need to deal with, but I could see an issue happening where enemies get really bullet spongy, and depending on your builds, like, you might not do enough damage to feel very valuable. When we played, we put in a few hours, I never felt like anything was oppressively bullet spongy. There were a couple enemies that are kind of like tanky boss type enemies, and they did take a lot of freaking ammunition. But there's also a bunch of trash mobs that you can chain abilities off and, like, destroy huge groups of enemies with your area of effect. So I think there was a decent balance there, but again, I don't know what stage of development this is. Are we 3 months away from getting the game? 5 months away? Is this build that I played really old and they balanced it further? I truly don't know. And I don't know how good the gear gets, because I had ragtag items that they didn't even have any major synergies. And so I can imagine if you do have a lot of synergy and you're getting percentage damage health and all these different perks that are available, and I'm telling you, I've seen some awesome perks in this game, you could probably have these nutty builds that just destroys even the hardest world tier. So until you get your hands on it, or at least until I get my hands on it, it's really tough to say. Some of the weapons had perks that were like, hit a crit and ricochet the bullet, and if it killed the person, it would then cause enemies around it to bleed, and they had these like crazy chaining things that did seem really cool. So even in the base stuff that I saw, the small amount of loot that I got, I saw some interesting things out there that I think will lead to interesting gameplay. And so again, that has me excited, but I just don't quite know where to put my, where to put my full thoughts on this one. I'm seeing the potential. Like, you can see that bleed there. Did you see that enemy blow up? That was from the shotgun. You blow it up, it does like an area of effect, shrapnel attack. That stuff's cool to me. It's more interesting than Destiny perks like Kill Clip, where you just get a little bit more damage and stuff like that. As of right now, I'm tentatively optimistic for this game. I like Division. I like Remnant from Ashes. I even liked some of the aspects from Anthem. And so seeing some of these things and seeing the potential and seeing the builds, it has me excited. But there's just so many things that have to go right with a game of this scale that it's a little, like, not daunting, but it has me always worried, These studios are trying to make these incredibly grindy games with a good story and good, interesting loot, and there's just like a lot of areas that things can go wrong, and to nail it, it feels lately like it's a 1 in a million thing. But from what I've seen with the cutscenes and things, it seems like they've got a good budget. It seems like they have a good idea of what players of games like this want. And so, let's see. Let's wait a little bit longer. Let's see some of the future updates and releases. I think there's a stream in August in like a little while here. I think that in September there's another reveal. And so I guess we're going to find out if this game will live up to the hype or the potential very, very soon. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon, my friends. Bye-bye.